Hey everyone, I'm back, and today we're going to be talking about The Lighthouse. And this movie is directed by Robert Eggers and is starring Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson. And this is the same director as The Witch that came out in 2016, I believe. And I said that in my last video, if you saw my review for Parasite, that this movie was my favorite movie from 2019, and rewatched it, and I still think it is. I don't expect any movie that I've seen, any other movie from 2019 to beat it. And let's talk about what I love. And I will give a heads up, this isn't going to happen right away, but eventually I do want to talk about spoilers, because there are some things that I want to talk about, and if I really want to give a full in-depth video about what I love about this movie and why it's my favorite movie of 2019, then I have to talk about spoilers. So no spoilers just yet, but I will get into them eventually. Now, before I get into the review itself, I should note that there are a couple things that you should know before watching this movie. First off, I do think that if you're going to watch this movie, you should watch The Witch first, then watch The Lighthouse. And the reason for that is because I feel as though if you watch The Witch, then you'll have a better understanding of what this movie is going for, because it is similar in ways in terms of its presentation, its pacing, and where the story goes. It's similar in ways. I wouldn't say The Lighthouse is an exact copy of The Witch. However, I do recommend you watch The Witch first and then The Lighthouse, so you know what to expect, more or less. Because this is not a typical horror movie. This is more of an art film. That the emotions it's getting out of you are going to be that of a horror movie, but it's not going to be a typical jump scare every 5 seconds. Like, when it's something horrifying, it's not going to use any loud sound effects. It's going to use music, and it's a slow burn, and be prepared for that. And one other thing before I get into the review itself, I do recommend watching both of these movies with subtitles, and the reason I say that is because it is sometimes difficult to understand what the characters are saying, and that's not to say that the audio mixing is bad. It's because the dialogue that these characters are given is very unfamiliar, and that has to do with the setting of both The Witch and The Lighthouse. It's not set in modern day, obviously, and the way characters are going to be talking it might be a little difficult to understand what they're saying at times, so that's my recommendation. Alright, now that I've gotten all of that out of the way, let's talk about The Lighthouse itself and what I love about it. I think the acting is really great. Robert Pattinson is great in this movie, and Willem Dafoe is excellent. He's perfect casting for this movie, and I don't think anyone else could play this role better than him. And there's lots of memorable lines of dialogue from both Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson. And I should also mention that this movie isn't just a horror movie. This is also a comedy. And the comedic elements of this movie never interrupt the horror elements of the movie. And that's something that I really have to give props to this movie, is that tonally it never feels as if it's off. And that's one thing that I love about it. I remember that being a thing that I really loved in Parasite, but here it's just two tones and not multiple different storylines. And not that Parasite is bad for choosing to do more than two. I'm just saying that this movie was able to pull off both elements perfectly, like Parasite did. I love how in this movie, without giving anything away, and I also mentioned this in Parasite, but there are little tiny details sprinkled throughout the movie that have little payoffs later on, and you would probably need to see the movie more than once to pick up on them. And I'm not trying to say that you won't be able to enjoy the movie unless you see it more than once, because there's plenty to get out of it upon one viewing. I just feel as though this movie has a lot of replay value, and even the things that you already know are coming, they're still great. And I've seen this movie 4 times now, and each time I loved it even more. And the horror elements I really loved in this movie because of how they're presented, and they're actually kind of terrifying and really creepy. And I'll get into what those things are in just a moment and what my favorite creepy moment is once we get into spoilers. Okay, I'm just gonna get into spoilers because I have things I want to talk about. So from here on, spoilers. So let's get into things that I can't talk about. One of the details that I mentioned that was sprinkled throughout the movie is how when Robert Pattinson killed Ephraim Winslow, even though it doesn't directly say he killed, but my interpretation is that he killed him. He said that all I could think was I could use me as smoke, or all he wanted was a smoke, and that comes into play later on in the film, and that happens after he kills Willem Dafoe. And I thought that was a nice little detail. And there's also one detail that Robert Pattinson's character says that he's God-fearing, and later on you see Willem Dafoe naked, but he's posing like as a god in front of him, and his eyes are like shining light towards him. I thought that was a great detail added into the movie. There's another thing that I really liked. The relationship between Robert Pattinson and the seagulls. It goes in ways that I did not expect, like the one that is killed. I think that was a practical effect. And how he's just beating the seagull to death. That was like, the first time I saw that was a shocking moment because I wasn't expecting that. And I guess the seagulls don't really like him because when Robert Pattinson falls from the lighthouse and paint kind of gets on him and he just wakes up and there's like a seagull on his leg and it starts pulling at his pants leg. I thought that was a nice little detail added of how much he hates seagulls. And they also explained that it's bad luck to kill seagulls. It's like tall tales. I'm gonna get into the creepiest thing in the movie for me, and that is when Robert Pattinson's character Tom Howard, I just remembered his character name, when he's in the lighthouse and Willem Dafoe is up right above him in the light, and you see a little goop coming down through the hole, and then he looks up through one of the holes, and you see like an octopus tentacle or whatever just moving around. To me, that was I haven't seen something that terrifying since The Shining. And I thought that was great. And my second most horrifying moment would be like at the end when Robert Pattinson puts his hand in the light and it kills him. I also love how this movie, it kind of asks you to read into it a little bit, because it doesn't give you any concrete answers as to what things are. You kind of just have to figure it out for yourself, and I like that about the movie. Like, some of my all-time favorite movies ever do that, and this is one of them. And I do feel as though there are answers, but you're going to have to really think about them. Think about what you saw and kind of piece it together as to what things are. Like, one theory that you could make up is that all of what happened in the movie is taking place within Robert Pattinson's subconscious. It's all in his head, as like his final moments as he's dying when the seagulls are killing him or eating his guts out at the very end of the movie. A movie that has great comedy and also a really creepy atmosphere, and neither of those tones interfere with each other, and that's what a great movie does. And I'm going to give The Lighthouse a 10 out of 10. So those are my thoughts on The Lighthouse. I think I talked about it well enough so that you know why it's my favorite movie of 2019, as far as everything that I've seen in 2019. If you enjoyed this review, be sure to leave a like and comment down below what you thought of The Lighthouse down below. And my social media links, those will all be in the description down below, so follow me there. And last but not least, subscribe to be a part of Foley Nation, and I'll see you when I get my next review up, and that is going to be for Die Hard. I was actually planning on reviewing this movie around Christmas, because it is a Christmas movie, but I just really want to talk about it now. And also I want to talk about the sequels, one a month. I don't have all of them, I just have 2 and 4, because those are the only ones that I've seen. I haven't seen Die Hard with a Vengeance or A Good Day to Die Hard. I'm looking forward to the 3rd one. 5th one, not so much, but I'll talk about it anyways. And also, coming this month, I'm going to be talking about The Hateful Eight and Jurassic Park 3. And The Bourne Supremacy, so look forward to all of those. But until I get all of that up, thank you for watching, and have a great day.